5 things I did to finally make my evenings count. Have you ever found yourself reaching the end of the day thinking, where did the time go? You started off with the best of intentions. Maybe you planned to do something productive or spend quality time on a personal project. But by the time evening rolls around, you're left feeling like you haven't done much at all. If you've ever experienced that, you're definitely not alone. I've been there too, and it's frustrating. But here's the thing, your evenings don't have to be that way. In fact, evenings can be the secret weapon to making the most of your time. If you're like me, you might be someone who's constantly trying to get better, smarter, or just more intentional with your time. You want to end your day feeling like you actually accomplished something that matters. And the good news is, it's totally possible. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 things I did to finally make my evenings count. I'm not talking about any crazy productivity hacks that require a ton of effort or complicated schedules. These are simple, actionable steps that you can start using right now to get more out of your evenings. I know we've all been there, right? You finish work or whatever your main focus for the day was, and suddenly it feels like the day slips away from you. By the time you get around to relaxing or winding down, the hours have disappeared. But what if, instead of letting the evenings get away from you, you could turn them into a time for growth, relaxation, and reflection? Sounds great, right? So, how did I do it? How did I finally start making my evenings matter? Well, the first step for me was simple, but so powerful: setting boundaries. You might be thinking, wait, isn't this a productivity tip? Trust me, it's more than that. Setting boundaries, especially in the evening, is about creating space for yourself, free from distractions. When I started setting boundaries around my evenings, I realized how much time I was losing to things that weren't really serving me. Whether it was scrolling mindlessly through my phone, watching shows that didn't inspire me, or trying to finish work that wasn't urgent, I realized I was spending a lot of time on autopilot. That's when I decided to be intentional about when and how I'd shut off for the day. It wasn't always easy, especially with the temptation of that endless scroll through social media or the pressure to catch up on work. But I made a promise to myself. After a certain hour, my phone would go on Do Not Disturb, and I wouldn't check my email or social media unless it was absolutely necessary. This small change had an enormous impact on my evenings. It allowed me to focus on the things that actually matter: self-care, personal projects, quality time with loved ones, or simply unwinding in a way that helped me recharge. The second thing I started doing was to embrace a power hour. I've always been a morning person, so it wasn't hard for me to be productive early in the day. But evenings, especially after a long day, often felt like a wash. What I realized, though, is that my mind wasn't totally fried by the evening. It just needed a focused burst of energy to be more effective. So I dedicated the last hour of my day to a specific goal, something that moved the needle, even just a little. It could be something creative, like writing or learning something new, or it could be catching up on a personal project. The key here was that it wasn't about doing a ton of things. It was about giving that hour my full attention, free from distractions. The results? Well, I actually started seeing progress in areas of my life I'd been neglecting. And the best part? It didn't require hours of effort, just one focused, productive hour. It's crazy how something so simple can make a huge difference, right? But that's how small habits build up. Now, I know this sounds like a lot of change in one go, but here's the truth. Making small shifts in how you spend your evenings will lead to bigger shifts in how you feel about your time, your goals, and yourself. And that's exactly what I'm going to keep walking you through. Because once you get the hang of setting boundaries and carving out focused time, you'll feel the difference in your energy, productivity, and mindset. And that's just the beginning. Let's talk about the next step, one that changed the way I thought about evening relaxation altogether. So, once I started setting boundaries and dedicating a power hour to my evenings, I realized that I was missing a crucial piece of the puzzle: the importance of intentional relaxation. Sounds a little counterintuitive, right? We often think about relaxation as something that just happens when we zone out in front of the TV or mindlessly scroll through our phones. But here's the thing, I found that my evenings weren't truly benefiting from relaxation until I started being more intentional about how I wound down. You see, there's a big difference between passive relaxation and active relaxation. Passive relaxation is when you just let your mind wander and hope it will calm down on its own. But active relaxation? That's when you do something specific to help your mind and body unwind in a way that actually refreshes you. For me, that meant incorporating activities like reading, journaling, or even practicing light meditation. These aren't activities that require a ton of time or energy, but they create a profound shift in how my evenings feel. I'm sure you can relate to this. Sometimes after a long day, you just need a mental reset. I found that activities like reading a book, something engaging but not too stimulating, or reflecting in a journal about the day helped me detach from the stressors I was carrying. These activities allowed me to unwind without simply distracting myself. And this doesn't mean you have to go all zen and suddenly become a meditation guru. It can be as simple as setting aside 20 minutes to read a chapter from a novel or jot down a few thoughts in a gratitude journal. I'll tell you, those small moments of calm began to have a huge impact on how I felt going into the next day. The trick is to make this time work for you, not just to numb your mind, but to actively restore it. Another thing I started doing was getting ahead of the next day. Now this one might sound a little weird, but hear me out. It's not about stressing out about tomorrow, but rather taking small steps in the evening to make the morning less hectic. For instance, I'd plan my outfit for the next day or pack my bag before bed. Simple things like that. It might seem trivial, but what I found was that even a few minutes spent on these little tasks gave me a sense of control and calm when I woke up. I know mornings can be overwhelming enough as it is. The last thing you want to do is scramble through your closet or try to figure out what to eat for breakfast while you're half awake. But by using your evening to eliminate that early morning chaos, you're setting yourself up for a smoother, more intentional start to the day. And the best part? It only takes a few minutes, but the payoff is huge. I'll be honest, these changes didn't happen overnight. I had to experiment with different activities, routines, and approaches. Some days I'd get it right, and some days I wouldn't. But what really helped was shifting my mindset around my evenings. Instead of seeing them as a time to just wind down in a passive way, I began to view my evenings as an opportunity to intentionally prepare for tomorrow, whether that was mentally, emotionally, or physically. That shift in thinking opened up a whole new perspective for me. And speaking of shifts in perspective, there's one more strategy that helped me make my evenings count. And it involves getting rid of something that was actually holding me back. Stick with me. This one's a game changer. Now, if you've been following along so far, you've probably noticed a pattern: intentionality. Setting boundaries, dedicating time for focused work, practicing active relaxation, and preparing for the next day all revolve around being more mindful of how we use our time. But there's one more thing that made a huge difference in how I started making my evenings count, and that was getting rid of distractions that were draining my energy. I'm talking about those little things that sneak into your evenings and steal your focus without you even realizing it. For me, one of the biggest culprits was mindless screen time. It's so easy to fall into the trap of scrolling through social media or binge-watching shows, especially when you're tired and just want something easy to do. But what I discovered was that this type of passive activity wasn't actually helping me unwind. It was just numbing my brain, and in many cases, it left me feeling more drained than before. I'm not saying that you can't enjoy a Netflix binge or scroll through Instagram from time to time, but I realized that the evenings were a precious opportunity for me to do something more fulfilling. And so, I started actively limiting my screen time, especially in the hour or two before I went to bed. This wasn't about being overly strict with myself. It was more about recognizing when I was using screens as a way to avoid other, more meaningful activities. One of the first things I did was turn off notifications. It's amazing how much mental space it frees up when your phone isn't constantly buzzing with reminders, emails, and updates. I also set specific times when I check social media or respond to messages, usually earlier in the evening, so I wasn't tempted to dive into them right before bed. And I have to say, the difference was huge. By limiting those distractions, I found that I could focus on what mattered more: my personal time, creative projects, or simply spending quality time with family. Another change I made was to create a relaxing evening routine, something that would signal to my brain that it was time to wind down. I'm sure you've heard of sleep hygiene before, but it's not just about creating the perfect sleep environment. For me, it was about building habits that helped me transition from a busy day into a restful night. I started doing things like dimming the lights, turning off screens at least 30 minutes before bed, and drinking a cup of herbal tea. These little rituals told my mind and body that it was time to let go of the day and prepare for sleep. It wasn't always easy. There were definitely nights when I wanted to stay up late watching one more episode or scrolling through my feed. But by creating these habits, I found that I was able to get better quality rest and wake up feeling more refreshed. And honestly, the best part was that I felt more energized and focused the next day, which meant I could tackle my morning with even more intentionality. Now, to tie it all together, setting boundaries, practicing active relaxation, preparing for the next day, and limiting distractions were all incredibly important in helping me make my evenings count. But there's one final shift that really helped me embrace these changes: embracing progress over perfection. I think we all have a tendency to want everything to be perfect, right? We want our routines to be flawless, our productivity to be on point, and our evenings to be this perfect balance of relaxation and accomplishment. But what I realized was that the goal wasn't perfection, it was progress. It's about consistently making small improvements, rather than stressing out if one evening doesn't go as planned. There were nights when I still struggled to detach from work or resisted the urge to check my phone, but I stopped beating myself up over it. I simply reminded myself that every day was an opportunity to do better. The key was not to give up, but to keep going, keep experimenting with what works, adjusting my approach when needed, and celebrating the wins, however small they might be. So let me leave you with this. You don't have to overhaul your entire evening in one go. Start small, make those little changes, and give yourself some grace when things don't go perfectly. Before you know it, those small shifts will add up, and you'll find that your evenings are not just a time to passively wind down, but a chance to recharge, grow, and set yourself up for success tomorrow. And hey, it's all about progress, not perfection. If you start making even one or two of these changes, you'll notice a difference. Trust me, you've got this. If any of these tips resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what changes you're planning to make in your evenings and how they're working for you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tips on how to make every day count. Remember, your evenings are a powerful opportunity to set yourself up for success. You don't need to make big changes all at once. Just take it one step at a time. I believe in you. You've got everything it takes to make your evenings and your life count. Keep going, and I'll see you in the next video.